Hey everyone, I'm super excited to have David and Paige with me today on our latest episode of Founders, as the co-founders of Active Humans, and as well, and this is the story I'd love to uncover as well. You started also another business called Honr Labs, if I'm correct. So super excited to have both of you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, we're really excited to be here. Thank you for having us on the show. Big fans, and we're excited to share our story.
Amazing. Well, I'd really love to start as I do on most of these from the beginning, and I always think about all the entrepreneurs I've had a chance to interview and meet. When they think about where they grew up in their childhood, there's all different types of backgrounds, all different types of stories, and that's really what I love to share with our audience. And so, for each of you, it would just be helpful to understand, when I say where did you grow up, what does that mean to you, and what was that like for each of you?
You can start.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I grew up in a small town, just about an hour and a half east of Toronto. I think for me, entrepreneurship or business kind of started at a pretty young age. I remember having a bank account when I was 10 or 11. I remember going to the bank with my mom and updating that book kind of every Friday. And that was a highlight of my week. I had, my first part-time job when I was 13. I had a loan from my parents when I was 14. So I think I owe them, a lot when it comes to, really valuing, what a dollar's worth and how hard you have to work. So for me, being an entrepreneur, I've always had that spirit. And then even like through high school, multiple part-time jobs. I remember pulling in 25, 30-hour weeks going to school. So I've always worked, and I've never really known a time in my life where I haven't worked on something. And so, having this opportunity to run a business and run a couple of brands is kind of a dream come true for us, really, for me. But yeah, that's kind of where I come from and where my entrepreneurial spirit comes from. Paige might have a little bit of a different story, but
yeah, I grew up here in Kelowna, where we are sitting right now. So coming back to the Okanagan 2 years ago was kind of a homecoming for me. And I grew up here in just a little town north. And my entrepreneurial spirit, I think, mostly came from watching my dad have his own businesses and working really hard to, build something for himself. And I kind of grew up with that mentality as well for myself. And I kind of got to make my own decisions on, I got a soccer scholarship down to Oklahoma when I was really young, and I kind of made those decisions on my own. And then in Toronto, when I worked there, I was really entrepreneurial, and I worked with Equinox and kind of had my own business and established myself and worked with really high network clients. So I think for me, that's kind of where I saw other people doing it, and I really wanted a piece of that. And then to really have control over my own calendar and my own lifestyle, I think is why I want to be an entrepreneur and why we're working so hard to build that lifestyle for ourselves.
I think there's a lot we can talk about on the fitness side that's outside of my day-to-day. I'm very keen and always looking at different opportunities in that space. So I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. But for each of your, David, you had mentioned your parents giving you a loan. What's the story of how that even came to be?
Yeah, my parents have supported me in life, and they still are today. Very much so. But when I wanted something in life when I was younger, they made me work for it. And, that is something that's just stuck with me kind of since I was young. But, realistically, you get a loan from family, friends for whatever that thing may be, whether it's a house or something smaller.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people go through at some point in life. I just happened to start that process really young and really early. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, I wanted something that my friends had, and, I had to find a way to pay that back. And, they've always been there for me, and like I said, they still are today, which is amazing.
No, that's amazing. Really what I was trying to understand was, did you have any little side hustles, or was that ever part of your childhood? Do you remember what the first thing is that you tried to sell to somebody? And maybe not back then, or later in life, maybe it started with Honr. But
yeah, wow, where to start? I mean, so many. I cut grass. I worked at McDonald's. I worked at every fast food chain you can imagine. Worked at Sport Check when I was younger. So I was always kind of selling something in a sales role or whatnot. And then even when we moved to Toronto and I had, full-time job, there was always a side hustle. There was always something going on, kind of in the back of our minds. When I met Paige, we both had this weird little business where we were selling like healthy snacks to people that we knew. And it was actually the same business, which is weird. This like protein ball. My recipe
was better.
That's what it makes.
Yeah. It was actually a really weird situation. Like when we first met, like you said, I had like my business within Equinox and I was selling energy balls within my clients and trying to figure out how to make this little side hustle work. And then when we met, he was doing the exact same thing, selling these little like energy balls. And we kind of were like, what are we both doing? So we kind of built a better recipe out of the both of them. And we kind of started this balls business with this. And it was like the first time we were like, wow, we actually could work together as a team. And we actually both have this like entrepreneurial spirit and it becomes alive when we're, working together on something. So
yeah, it was interesting for sure. Like the balls was the business that picked up our relationship as business partners. We're also partners in life, which, we should probably talk about too. It's a pretty interesting dynamic, but, that business probably lasted all of 2 months until we figured out how many hours we had to put in rolling balls and baking these things on the weekends. And, I start doing math and it's like, there's no way.
Paid for our food processor and was like, we're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to scale if you're doing it all yourselves. But so for Paige, it sounded like you were doing that as part of your client base at Equinox.
Yeah, absolutely.
David, you're not a PT at Equinox, and so what was your vision for it? And I imagine like, what was the day you both met and you're like, yo, are you doing this thing too? Like, should I be concerned?
Literally. Yeah, almost like competing businesses. I've always been pretty active too. I mean, Paige and I have a very similar background. We've both done bodybuilding competitions. We've both been, in the gym space since we were, in high school.
We have backgrounds both as semi-professional athletes too, really, like soccer and ATV racing. And
funny, like a lot of people don't know that, but I was a professional ATV racer when I was young, in 18, 19. And so it took me pretty serious in life. But so we've always had this like sport background, and nutrition is such a hard thing to nail. And so like having that snack on the go or having something pre-workout, it just kind of made sense to build it myself, and she kind of did the same. And I was selling to people I knew and just selling to coworkers and just anybody who I could, get hooked on these things. And it was interesting for sure. Just one of those like passions or like labors of love that just didn't really go anywhere. But I think we really quickly realized like trading time for money is not something we wanted to do anymore.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of founders and entrepreneurs feel the same way. They want to take control and they go after this concept of like, what does financial freedom look like? And how do I get back my time and my calendar and my lifestyle? And so we knew the balls wasn't it, but we also knew, we're kind of like serial brand entrepreneurs. Even to this day, we talk about different brands and things we could spin up.
I think it's our favorite thing to do together. Like a Friday night for us is literally like hanging out on our patio or going for a walk, and we brainstorm brand ideas and we brainstorm all the things like what would be next if we had the opportunity, or what is in our life right now that we think there could be a market for and a fit. And so that's like our favorite thing to do, come up with the name, the concept, and all the ideas. And it gets better every time we do it, I think.
It's just practice, deliberate practice at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can do a little freestyle brainstorm at the end of this. I'm curious because I'm the same way. Every conversation with something, I have some business model, some idea, and maybe it just survives for 20 minutes in the conversation, or maybe it sticks in your brain, and eventually you build it, or you convince someone else to go create it.
Totally.
But for you, Paige, the balls business was something that obviously you guys, I don't know if there's a name for it. We can give the real name for your brand.
It was literally the balls with the Z.
That's great. Key branding choice. But before that, was there anything else? I mean, obviously being a trainer at Equinox in itself is a business within a business. and we can kind of go there too. Before that, was there anything else you experimented with, or other ideas or things you tested as you grew up?
As I grew up, not so much. I was so focused on being an athlete when I was a kid and growing up, and just wanting to, like, expand out of my small town and really, grass is greener somewhere else kind of mentality, and just wanted to explore and see what else I could do in life. So I think I was so focused on that. But then as soon as my athletic career was kind of ended after college, I was like, well, what else can I do that and be great at? And I think entrepreneurship was kind of that idea for me, and that mindset for me too, is wanting to really challenge myself, like I was challenging myself as an athlete, to be something greater, or do something greater, and create something and challenge myself like I did as an athlete. So my first kind of ideas that I had in Toronto, I was kind of working on these nutrition websites, and I had like my own kind of nutrition and health fitness stuff outside of Equinox even too, and just trying to see like what really fit with who I was and what I really wanted to do. And then the balls, I love making healthy desserts, and that kind of was another thing. And I realized quickly that I love product-based businesses, and maybe not so much food. Like, I love what we're doing now, and it just sort of snowballed into what we're doing now. And product-based business is where like my passion is, for sure.
And while at Equinox, this is another thing I'm always very fascinated by, and I've read, having studied the fitness space quite a bit, all the articles about the trials and tribulations of being a trainer, and especially starting out as a trainer at Equinox, where and I've observed this in the States, especially when I've gone out there, you have to run the floor, and like your job is simply to put back the weights. You're not even training. That's kind of your buy-in, right?
Yeah, I actually did an internship in Chicago with Equinox, and I worked literally 480 hours worth of free floor hours, because yeah, it was a free internship that I had to do. And so I worked on the floor, and I learned underneath all the other trainers, and I had no real background in training except for my kinesiology degree at the time. And I was just kind of learning for them. And then I moved up to Toronto, and I was able to build my business in Toronto faster than anyone else, because I had that background from working in Chicago, and I understood, and I watched everyone else and how they interacted and built their businesses. And it made me wildly successful at Equinox for the first like couple of years that I worked there. And yeah.
And if you were to, give a playbook for someone on how to do that well, after many years of trying it, what would be the best way to convince a client to kind of take you on as a PT? Because I've been on the other side of it too. Of, I know what I'm doing in the gym. Oh, I already know that. All the objections better than I do. So I'm curious of how you approached it.
Yeah, it's a great question. When I still remember to this day, like landing my first client, I didn't let him know he was my first client. Like, that was kind of I was like, oh, my other clients do this, or they've seen these results or whatever. It was like, I told him a couple of years later that he was my first client ever, and he had no idea. He thought I had this super successful roster, and I just did it. I was like literally 1 month into training and just picking up clients and working off that. So that was a big one. Just, making yourself look to be maybe greater than you are in that position at the time. And I think that really helped me. But also, I love people. Like, I definitely am a people person. I'm an extrovert. So building relationships is probably one of my superpowers. And I think that was really handy for me. Having people believe in that you can really help them and get them to their goals, and make them feel really confident in you as a trainer and as a person. And they want to spend the hour with you, and they have to like you. So, making sure that you remember all their dogs' names, their kids' names, and, actually have an interest in their life. I think that took me really far with my clients. And I still have, it's been 2 years that we haven't been in Toronto, and I still have all their phone numbers and connections, and we have conversations, and I call them for business advice. And, they're all still in my corner, which I think is amazing. And I think that's a big piece of it, is just making sure that the relationship with the client really comes first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it's a testament to the work that you've done. You never know where your mentors or supporters will come from.
Absolutely.
And so kind of fast forwarding after balls with a Z. What happened in between then and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Honr was the first business, or if you guys tried something else together after merging your food business together. What was in between, that and kind of the first business you launched?
Yeah, I think there was a couple years there where, I kind of grew up with this vision of what success looked like. And I chased that really hard, especially in Toronto. I was pretty young and got the job and the promotion and the condo and the car and just started collecting those things, but sacrificed a lot of other things like travel and time with friends and just other experiences. And when I met Paige, she kind of came to me one day with this crazy idea. She said, I want to go travel the world. I want to try something different. And it took me by surprise. I really struggled with it. I really struggled with it because I was just on this path. Like I knew how to work. I knew how to get to the next level. I knew what the next level even looked like. And when she kind of blew up that vision for me, it took me a while. It took me a while to get on board with that. But we did. We traveled down kind of in the U.S., like the Western states. We did San Francisco. We did, all the way down the Highway 1 Coastal, which is amazing, down into L.A. and Santa Monica. We then traveled to Bali in Australia, which is quite the jump and quite the experience. And when we came back to Toronto, I kind of had this epiphany. It changed my life and my course of direction, where I knew I wanted something different. I knew I wanted a different lifestyle. And so Paige convinced me to basically sell everything. Sold the car, sold the toys, sold the clothes, sold the condo. And we just kind of did a nomad thing for 6 months. And we came out to the West Coast in Canada and traveled everything from Calgary down to Victoria Island. And kind of fell in love with the Okanagan, which is right in the middle. Just the lifestyle, the weather, so many good things out here. And so it took us probably 6 months to really figure out where we wanted to live, what we wanted to do. And then the brainstorming really started. Our first business here in Kelowna was actually a little personal training studio, which still lives today. People love training on a personal one-on-one out here. It's a very active city as well. So, it ranks pretty high on that index in Canada. And so, that was like the first step into Kelowna was, can we, mimic Paige's business, but do it out here in a population of 180,000. And so that was kind of the first step. And we built this thing and organically it just grew. And now it's like this own entity that we, try to not manage at all. And it's been an interesting journey. And then, we can talk about how we landed onto Honr and Active Humans, but that was kind of the 6 months to maybe 1 year in between Toronto, the balls, quitting the corporate life, and then trying something totally different, and kind of going against the grain a little bit.
There was about like 3 businesses in between that though that we were doing, like the health and wellness business. We can talk about that if you want us to.
Oh, please. I want to jump to those, but the question I don't want to forget is, obviously it sounds like Paige, you're all in on this plan, which is amazing. And David, it takes you some time to come to terms with it. And I'm just curious, at some point you go to your boss and you're like, I'm quitting, and everyone's asking, what are you doing next? You're like, I'm literally selling everything and leaving. So you have obviously a lot of conviction. Do you remember, was it a moment, or what was the conversation even in your head or with each other that made you say, like, you know what, like I'm going to do this, no real plan? Because it's a big 180 from what you were saying before of where your head was at, before that happened.
You know what? There wasn't one moment. It wasn't like I woke up one day and was like, okay, Paige, like, let's do this. Let's just blow this life up and go try something different. It took me a while to get there. I think the biggest thing for me is I knew I wanted something different in my career as well. Like my work, I was kind of at a point where I either took up the next step in the job or started looking elsewhere. I loved and got addicted to travel right away as soon as we started doing some of that traveling in the States and in Australia. So I wasn't afraid to like try somewhere else in the world. And then, honestly, what made it easy was that we got into the condo market at a good time and we got out at a good time. So it kind of made that easy, where there was a little bit less pressure all of a sudden, financially, to do this. Because, this isn't something that, I would highly recommend to anybody unless they have an opportunity or there's some sort of way to build a life again. But I think it took probably about 30 days for me to really be on board. And, I really just leaned on Paige to be my rock out here. She had some family out here and some friends out here. And so we knew we had something to come to and some people to kind of network with. And there was definitely some points where I broke down. It was really tough for me to sell my assets. And really what I felt like I was getting rid of was my identity. It was like, who am I? Who am I going to be in Western Canada? Who am I going to be without a job? Who am I going to be when I don't put on my nice dress clothes and things? That was really tough. But when we landed here, the lifestyle, the difference, the slower pace, the weather, everything the Okanagan has to offer just kind of overwhelmed the thought of regret, or the thought of what are we missing or what are we leaving behind. I left my family as well, and they've been out here plenty of times, and the pandemic's really been a challenge there. But for me, it was one of those things where it took a leap of faith, and I don't regret it, but I do miss some of those things that the city has to offer. But it's a life experience, and I truly believe that time is your most valuable asset. And for me, trying new things, experiencing new things, being uncomfortable, making decisions and being uncomfortable with those decisions sometimes is really good. It pushes you to the limit, and it really helps you grow as a person as well. So yeah, I would say, it wasn't a moment or a specific day I woke up. It took some time, and I'm really grateful that, Paige kind of pushed me in that direction, for sure.
Well, it seems like it led to a lot of great ideas, and Paige, I'd love to pick up on that other thread of, it sounds like you have the personal training business, and I'm curious, what were the iterations that led you to your, I don't know if that's your next product business immediately, but tell me that story.
Well, we did have, when we first landed too, we were following in the footsteps of some of our favorite foods and favorite ideas and smoothies and things. We're like, I wonder if we could build a business around some of our other passions, around the things we love to eat, the things we love to make for ourselves. And we were really in this food mindset. And we both realized that that wasn't something we really wanted to do. It didn't really feel as right. And so we switched gears into the personal training studio. But on the side of that, we were trying to build these adventure and wellness packages, I guess, for people to come out to the Okanagan and experience the lifestyle, because we call this Canada's playground. And because there's so many things that you can do, you can golf and boat and ski and surf all in one day here, and then go to wineries at night. It's an amazing lifestyle, and we wanted to share that with people, and specifically people in my network in Toronto and David's network. And so we had this concept of fun, and we did do it. We had people come out, and we booked this whole adventure weekend with them. We took them biking and wineries, and we had people come to the house, and naturopaths come to the house for IV treatments. And we're very immersed in the biohacking world or the health hacking world, and everything to make yourself feel better, and feel better about yourself, but also that they could leave with healthy habits in hand and things that they've learned from kind of immersing themselves in our lifestyle. So that was one idea. And we did about 3 trips with people, and we were exhausted. We were so how are we do all this? And we just realized very quickly that as much as an amazing idea this was, an amazing location for it, we needed a lot more help. And it was at that point, we weren't sure it was what we wanted to do, just based on how tired we were. And I'm the people person, and David, he needs his alone time. And so having someone in your space for that amount of time, and making sure you're catering to them all the time, it was a full-time job for at least 72 hours. So it was a lot. And that's when we just started focusing on personal training. And that's when we started thinking about the product business that we have now, both of them.
Mm-hmm. And so was it Honr that came first, or you launched both together?
Yeah, actually, the inspiration for our business was our deodorant company, Active Humans. It wasn't called Active Humans when we started this thing, but we wanted to build a spray deodorant in this category that was somewhat different, somewhat unique, and catered to a niche audience. And what we did was we actually, we went out, we found a couple formulators to get us to a point where we would have like a minimum viable product. But what we ran into was a lot of issues around scale and manufacturing at scale. And we quickly realized that the formulation part of the deodorant product that we wanted to bring to market was really difficult. And somehow along that journey, we also started looking at other products in the skincare side of the business, the personal care category. And we landed on 3 amazing products that kind of blew us away. And we did that fairly quickly, like probably within 4 months, we were into production. Wow. And we were kind of sitting on, like waiting on kind of inventory. That was from like scrap, from nothing to having inventory. We're probably at 4 or 5 months.
And if I can try, what gave you the confidence to, it's a financial commitment of, I'm going to go, whatever the amount is, it's something, right? What were the data points you're looking at? I'm sure you landed at, a couple of products, but, what did you try or, brainstorm that you said no to that was like on the cutting room floor? Tell me a bit more about the conviction behind actually putting your money down to commit to this.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's, the point. Like, everyone has to take a leap of faith at some point. And for us, we had business relations kind of together on a very, very small scale. We found a partner. So we do have a third partner in a business. He's amazing at just
Craig.
Moving things around the world.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Craig.
Shout out to Craig.
So we quickly kind of brought him into the fold. And the confidence came from, Craig's experience at scale, my experience kind of back in Toronto, Paige's passion for the business. And we're kind of all pretty confident individuals in general. But we kind of knew the path of how we wanted to bring product to market. We had a really good brand concept. We had a really good kind of audience that we were going after and messaging behind that. And so it took us, that whole 4-month period, we were just building brand. Does this feel right? Testing with, people we knew. And so for us, the financial commitment was, fairly easy to make because we had a path. We had planned this thing out as much as we could, and we had a path to, growth and where we wanted to go. There was obviously some challenges that came along with that last year, 2020 specifically. But for us, the conviction came really from within. And it was really like, now's a good time for us to really try this thing. We've always wanted to do it. Let's do it right. Let's go big, and let's, take a leap of faith. And as a group, we were just all on board. There was no red flags at that time.
And tactically, how did you fund the initial? Was it just from savings? What did that look like?
Yeah, it's pretty much like typical Canadian startup, like bootstrap story. It put some personal kind of savings into the business. We landed a partner here in Kelowna, Community Futures. So you probably know them. They helped us out with a little bit of seed money. And we kind of had some friends and family money to kick this off and, help us fund the inventory. But we started pretty lean. Even, to this day, we run a pretty lean operation. And we're only now that we're, 16 months into the business, we're going to actually start raising capital. But we've operated pretty tight to get to where we are and just really focus on bottom line. And so, typical funding story, really. We didn't go out and raise millions of dollars. We didn't, that wasn't the path that we chose. And I think it was a good choice based on all the hurdles that came in 2020 when we launched.
Yeah. And for you, Paige, kind of similar question on, it's even though you're together in business and personally, it's still your money you're putting in too. Mm-hmm. When you looked at, I guess Honr was the kind of first concept, and then Active Humans, it's now being changed as a separate brand. But back then, what excited you about the idea? Was it talking to people? Did you do any customer research? Did you run Facebook ad tests? Like, what were the data points you were personally looking at that made you also commit?
That's a great question. We didn't run Facebook ads till about March, but when we first started this business, I was totally a skincare addict. Like, I love skincare, and I was like, I wanted all the things. I wanted to try all the products, and I was always the one that was like looking for the products and what people wanted right now, the key ingredients. And it's not so different from food. And I realized that quite quickly is that I love making recipes and understanding what ingredients do which in the recipe and how healthy they are for your body. And so I just translated that kind of mindset into our skincare business and understanding what ingredients in certain products made them really special and stand out on the shelf and stand out for customers and what people wanted in skincare. So that's where I got to kind of, run with my own, passions in that and understand what each ingredient does. And you can ask me any ingredient now on our own skincare and our own deodorants, and I will tell you what it does and what the benefits are and all the things. And I think that was my, favorite part of the whole process of building it.
Yeah, we definitely looked at some key data points. Just the industry as a whole was kind of growing back in 2019, 2020. So we did look at some key trends. We knew we built a really good brand too. We had two amazing women help us out in Toronto on the brand side. And, we checked all the boxes. We made sure that we were going after natural formulations. We thought those were table stakes. All of our packaging is reusable, recyclable. So we knew that that trend of low waste or zero waste or reusable was coming out. We went after gender neutral products. I think that's really key in today's society. Things are changing. People want, good quality products, but it doesn't have to necessarily be for men or for women. Good face cleanser, you can use it whether you're male, female, or binary. Like it's one of those things that just made sense to us. Vegan, cruelty free, all those fun things. Like we just checked all those boxes, and we knew that if we could position ourselves against our competitors and against multiple different competitors and come out on top, that we would have something special or something unique that retailers and distributors would at least call us back for, because we're different. We didn't do the same things that everyone else was doing, and that's still core to who we are today, and both businesses really.
And the one part you touched on, what I find also very interesting, is my whole career before joining the team here was helping the big Fortune 500 skincare consumer packaged good brands market, and it's really crazy to see what like a $10 billion brand puts into work to gain distribution. And I share that because I find it's a lesson I learned kind of very early on, even in my own career, how important distribution is and like tactics to drive growth. And when you turn on the lights and said, hey, you can now buy my products, what worked? How did you get your first customers, whether it was online or I don't know if wholesale was part of it? I've been seeing this trend on a past couple of people I've interviewed. Wholesale is a huge part of their business. But tell me a bit more about that, of what worked, or what did you try that you thought was going to be amazing and completely failed miserably?
That's a good question.
That is the best.
It started with, our business model was all direct to consumer, was all based on, subscribe and save. We made decisions to do 60-day supply instead of 30 to reduce waste and shipping and all that fun stuff. And we thought that we were going to, be very profitable on Facebook, Instagram, social advertising, essentially Google campaigns, that kind of thing. And we were probably dead wrong. Like, that was one of the assumptions that we made that didn't come true. And so we hit the mark on audience and brand and messaging. We hit the mark on product and packaging and that piece. Where we failed to, one of the assumptions, the big assumptions we made that failed for us, was how our audience wanted to consume our product and how our audience wanted to shop our product. And so in the low waste, zero waste community, they don't want to necessarily buy online and pay for the cost of shipping and the packaging and all that stuff that comes along with that. And so we really missed the mark on kind of business model out of the gate. And what was really interesting was probably 3 months into our business, back in 2020, we noticed that men were buying our products like 2 or 3 times faster than women. So we actually spun up like a little male division of our company and tried to go really hard after that space as well. We did free trials because you have to do a little bit of education on the male side for skincare. You know, we really did try and take advantage of that data, but ultimately our brand and our packaging and our values and who we were really fit that, you know, we're skincare for all skin types. We're skincare for everybody. You know, we value everybody, and we're going to make these good decisions and stay true to who we were. So we tried this D2C model like really heavily. We tried going a little more niche with our audience, and it was okay, but not amazing. And ultimately, you know, a couple months later, we just started picking up the phones, and we saw this incredible trend in the West Coast here in North America of all these like zero waste shops, refilleries, plastic-free shops, booming. And so we looked at that and we said, okay, how do we make a product? How do we make a package that would be, attractive to these folks? And that's kind of where our bulk refill program came into play. And it was really funny. We had this moment where we were like, okay, we're struggling to sell 100 mils of our product, but can we sell 2 liters to a retailer? And so we kind of like fired up this little pilot program, and boom, like we found product market fit.
Yeah, it was pretty instant. We worked closely with people in our community, the zero waste stores here in the Okanagan, and we kind of piloted it with them, and they loved it, and their customers loved it. There was nothing else really like it on the shelves, and we realized that there was nothing like it really in Canada. There was very small players in this, you know, refill skincare idea, and we just realized quite quickly that we had built this product in our lineup of 3 simple steps: natural, cruelty-free, vegan, and we had hit the mark, and it was perfect for the zero waste market. So we built these refills and these refill starter kits and these specific products for this audience, and it caught like wildfire. And so now we're sitting across Canada in refilleries, and we see so much opportunity to expand into the States with our refills as well. And that's really what we're pushing Honr to be, is the refillable skincare company within Canada and the US.
That also must have changed the unit economics drastically of selling a little 100 ml bottle versus bulk shipping 2 liters. And I guess the refill is just a vat or a bag of the liquid, right? Because you don't even have to give the packaging since the customer already has the core bottle, right?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, the unit economics were definitely favorable. So all of a sudden, you know, we went from spending money to acquire customers and then money to ship individual products to individual customers to, selling products in bulk to one customer. So it meant less customer acquisition costs. It meant less shipping costs. And all of a sudden, our business kind of went from, you know, typical D2C in the first 6 months where you're lucky to break even and you're just growing customer base, to this amazing, like, profitable business that, you know, delivered back, and there was an ROI, and it just made sense. So we kind of took that early learning and we just doubled down on it. And our business today on the skincare side is like 95% wholesale distributor, and, you know, very, very little direct to consumer business. That might change in the future, but I think Honr Labs is, you know, as the refillable skincare company, is, that we have so much opportunity in North America that it doesn't make sense to walk away from all those values and who we are until we've really tapped out in US specifically.
And a key point there is that we've spent $0 in marketing to do that. That was kind of the highlight that we realized not too long ago. I think it was in February or March, and Olivier, our advisor in Clearco, he basically put that out there. It was like, you guys realize that you've done this with $0 in marketing, and you've been able to grow your business $10,000 a month with $0. And it was a really big goal for us. We're like, after spending the first 6 months of our business spending a lot of money on marketing, to flip the switch on like 180 to $0, we were like, wow, can we really do this? You can do this. And it was a pretty amazing moment for us to know that like we'd found such an amazing product market fit in such a niche market. And the zero waste community is so passionate about every single product. And it was just such a good feeling for us to find this, community that loved our products and that really like, does it justice, and the brand gets to live up to what we built it for.
That's amazing. It's very interesting. This is a very interesting trend, and maybe it's just by luck of people that I've been interviewing, but wholesale more and more seems like a key part of what a lot of businesses are doing. So similar question I asked you on your Equinox, your Equinox experience when working with some of your early retail partners. What worked? How did you convince them to stock your product? Because you're a D2C brand that no one knows about. You don't have a 2-liter SKU.
Yeah, honestly, it was a lot of phone calls. I called people so many times, but I think it was we made it really simple for them to say yes. By building a specific starter kit for refill stores that they could try our product out, a less cost, a little less product, but they still get the beautiful big. We sell it in these glass growlers, and they're with these beautiful pumps. And we just made it a really nice branding and really nice product line. And it was easy for them to say yes when they realized that it was like, oh, I see this product fitting in my store. I have space for it. I know my customers want refills. And we were the only ones really doing it. And we just jumped on that opportunity, and we made it easy for them to say yes to us.
Yeah, I think that's one lesson that, a lot of startups especially can learn is, wholesale is one of these things that for a lot of people is not necessarily like the first strategy that they employ. And that means that a lot of their product decisions are not necessarily made based on what wholesalers or retailers need and want. And so when we went down this path, like Paige said, we did everything to be in the right packaging with the right messaging. And we really made SKUs for wholesale specific. No one in the world's buying 2 liters of skincare to sit in their bathroom.
We've been asked.
Maybe. If I really, really love it, I have a lifetime supply.
If you really love it, you can, but.
So yeah, we put a different lens on, and we made all of our product decisions based on, what does our retailers want, not necessarily the customer, because we kind of figured out that formula already. It was more, how do we make these decisions easy for them to say yes to? How do we just, check off all the boxes and make sure there's no objections, and so that this thing can be, we can close fairly quickly on our retail wholesale business. And, Paige has done an incredible job on that side, really, as the relationship builder, as the EQ side of our business. She's really taken the lead on that and done a fantastic job. Really, it's, definitely a transferable skill from her Equinox days and just sales days in general.
Just talking to owners, it was no different than talking to my really busy clients that had to make decisions all day and had to just fit in the time to, work out with me or whatever it was. And I just transferred that kind of conversation and that knowledge into talking with these very busy, overworked small business owners that I just knew we could offer free shipping on orders. We could offer certain things. We just made it very easy for them to, feel good about the opportunity to bring our product in, and just highlighting the things that I knew they wanted to hear, like natural ingredients and, was refillable, and that you could bottle return programs. And I just made sure they knew, but didn't even have to ask any questions. They knew that we were, looking out for their best interest and what they already wanted based on the products they already sold in their stores. And yeah, that was kind of how I approached it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a skill that I think not enough founders have. We all grew up in the era of D2C and trying to build a business that way. But you guys certainly figured it out. You had mentioned a bit that you've been spending some time with Olivier and the team. What have been the main things you've been working on with your coach, and what are the things that you're trying to accomplish? I guess, what have you accomplished so far in that experience, and what are you hoping to achieve next?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people reach out to us and ask us about the Clear Angel program. So we have this conversation a lot, probably every other week with someone new, which is cool for you guys as well. We say good things, so
Thank you.
Positive.
Most of the time.
No. For us, the biggest benefit for us on Clear Angel has been having an accountability partner, but also just having someone else to bounce ideas off of. We talk about this all the time. Entrepreneurship is such a lonely journey for a lot of people, and we're not even 2 years into it. We're very much new at this as well. But just having somebody there to push you a little bit, to celebrate the wins as well, has been really helpful. And Olivier definitely has helped us, guide our decisions and kind of help push us a little bit on, some of those results. And so right out of the gate, we started working with Olivier on just how far can we push wholesale business before it breaks, basically. How much can we do on our own, but with spending $0 in marketing, and how big can we build that business until we need to hire someone or until we need to unlock another sales channel that'll help us grow. And so, he's really helped frame that mindset for us and which way we're going. And he's also helped kind of set some of those lofty goals that we thought maybe weren't possible, but we ended up achieving. So that's been a really big help. We've been working really hard to unlock with our Active Humans business, because it's a little bit of a different audience. It's a different retail business altogether. And so we've been working hard on unlocking Amazon.com over the last 3 months with Clear Angel. And then just also kind of growing brand and figuring out what that looks like. We have a pretty neat story with Active Humans. We launched that business on less than $5,000. We had inventory,
Wow.
We had a brand, we had a website. We started instantly, calling on doors and leveraging our retail network. And in about 3 months, we had a business doing, decent monthly revenue, and we knew, okay, this is valuable, this has legs, and we figured out another kind of product market fit. So really, in the last 5 months with Clear Angel, it's just how do we grow Active Humans, and simultaneously how do we push Honr Labs to the ultimate limit before we need to start growing our team and hiring to take back some of our time and focus on what's important.
We didn't get a chance to talk too much about Active Humans until now, but as someone who has lots of ideas and always wants to do many things as possible, I also always get the feedback like, oh, you should be very focused. You should just do one thing. And so there's merits obviously to both sides. What was this conversation between the both of you to say, yeah, let's definitely make this a lot easier in our lives and launch 2 products and have 2 businesses and 2 brands, and clearly one being run completely differently than the other?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think because deodorant was the original idea for us, and it was always something that we knew, like even a year and a half, 2 years ago, when we had wanted to start a product-based business, that was our original inspiration. And like, we were buying a deodorant for $70 and having it shipped to our house. And so for us, it was still a need that we needed to make sure that we could fulfill. And we just went back to that and said, Honr's doing great. We found this amazing product market fit. Let's revisit the deodorant and let's make it a little bit more around, let's go back to our roots of health and fitness. And because that is the essence of who we are, is like, we love everything health and fitness. And we still have our personal training studio. So for us, Active Humans was this amazing founder fit. And that product was a really good founder fit too, because it was still something we needed. And so Active Humans, we sat in our office for about a month, and we were brainstorming the brand. And it's so funny that Clearco is like for founders by founders, and we're Active Humans, a product line for Active Humans by Active Humans. And it's really for us, and it's, by fellow Active Humans. So that's kind of how we decided to move forward with it and take another leap on it, leap of faith on building a new product, and something that really felt good for us.
Yeah, it's an interesting question when you say, do you focus, or do you, maybe put another couple irons in the fire and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And for us, we kind of took that approach of, can we build this thing for like under $5,000 and see what happens? And when it returned a positive ROI in 30 days, we kind of said, okay, it makes sense. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, we were kind of like, okay, I guess we're going with it.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, Honr Active Humans is like outpacing Honr Labs for like wholesale accounts, and we see amazing growth potential with it on Amazon.com, and we already have mapped out all the product lineups that we want to come out with, and it just feels really good, and we're really excited about it.
In launching the second brand, was there any kind of key lessons you learned from the first time around that you mentioned wholesale? So clearly that's part of the initial launch strategy. Was there any other key things you did differently based on something you learned or a mistake you made in the last brand?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we almost took the opposite approach to Active Humans in a lot of ways. We built products with, simple things, like we built products with UPCs on them, and we did our labels so that they would sit on retail shelves, like big natural grocer chain shelves. So we made those small decisions to know, okay, we're going to try wholesale, we're going to try direct to consumer, we're going to do both, but we're going to make sure that we're all set up for success across any channel. So we made kind of those decisions. We also like really went lean on this startup in terms of how much we spent on it. So we wanted to figure out product market fit before we actually doubled down and spent a ton of money on inventory and other things. So we really focused on driving sales overnight versus building the brand up front. So we focused on sales, and right now we're in this interesting space in our business where we're six months in, and we're now talking about, okay, what does brand 2.0 look like? How do we evolve that? Whereas with Honr, we spent 4 or 5 months just focusing on brand messaging. We spent a lot of money doing it as well. So we took a bit of a different approach on product and brand early days with Active Humans. And then we went wholesale first with the kind of knowledge that if we could land a few accounts, we could actually generate some cash flow in the business to pay for its marketing efforts. And then, for us, we knew Amazon was on the radar for this product, it was a really good fit. And so we just wanted to, basically build up a little bit of a war chest in that space before we hit that market. So and we've been pretty good with, pacing ourselves a little bit on Active Humans as well, so that we're not taking on too much. We know we have 2 different brands. We know we're running both of them simultaneously. All 3 partners are involved in both. And so we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin, but we know that at some point we're going to have to, we need help. And, that was part of the reason why we reached out to Clear Angel. And, we have some really good partners now in our business that are helping us grow and raise capital and things like that. So, it's been a really fun journey and a really interesting decision to run too. But I think it will pay off for us. And I'm really humbled to say, we have 2 businesses that are very different audiences, but they both have a product market fit that we can take advantage of and really grow into something hopefully amazing.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have lots of tailwinds supporting you. As we wrap up, I'd love just to give everyone context for, around this time last year versus today, where have you taken each of these businesses, and then finish off to see, what are you excited about next, whether it's personal or business?
Yeah, this time last year, Active Humans didn't exist. So we were totally Honr Labs. We were really struggling hard last year on kind of direct-to-consumer advertising, making so many different pivots, so many different decisions in the business that had to be made. And of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you're very emotional. So you're in it every day, and it's really hard to take that 1,000-foot view of the decisions that you're making early on. And so, I think for us, we're finally at a stage where we can breathe a little bit, which is nice. So that's 12 months later. I think for us, the future would be, how do we grow above and beyond Canada? How do we grow into the US? And how do we do it and stay true to our values as well, especially with our skincare company? And then with, Active Humans, I think it's, we're looking at global markets using Amazon and some of the strategies that we're employing in the US. And I think that, how do we start growing a brand there? How do we get some attention, some PR, that kind of stuff? So we're working really hard on that as well. And realistically, it's how do we turn this thing into from a traditional startup of 3 founders and some contractors to 5, 6, 7, 10 employees and a business that's, doing what it's meant to be doing. And so that's probably the next stage for us. And we're really excited to get there. Because the struggle is something that like a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, get addicted to, that struggle, that pain, that grind, but at some point it's got to stop and there has to be fruit at the end of the journey. And I'm hoping that we're there on both brands. So yeah, that's kind of what's next for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it feels like you're both on track, and we're very, very proud to be able to play a small part in helping along. And so, on behalf of Olivier and his team, and myself included, just want to say thank you for doing all the amazing and hard work it takes to bring something to life, doing it twice side by side, and it's a testament to all the hard work you two have put in. And so. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And hope to get an update soon on how things are going.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah, no, we appreciate the support. We appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. And
absolutely.
Yeah, check back in 6 months and let's see where we're at.
With our third.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. We didn't we'll brainstorm when I fly out to where you guys are. We'll do some brainstorming together.
Let's do it.
Sounds awesome.
Perfect.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you
as well.